All right, let's do this. This is Chapter 13, Practice Test Answers. Chapter 13, 1, 2, and 3 are logs from Monday. Don't forget the finger thing. Don't forget your 3 rules. When you see multiplication or when you see addition, you multiply. Exponents go in the front. When you see subtraction, you divide. The first one right here has an exponent, so I took the exponent, stuck it in the front. Put the 4 in the front. Log base 381, do the finger thing. 3 to a power is 81. The fourth one, so you do 4 times that 4, 16. Number 2, you do subtraction. When you subtract, you really divide. 36 divided by 9 is 4. That gives you log base 2 of 4. Do the finger thing. 2 to what power is 4? 2. Number 3 has 3 things in it. Just start on the left and go to the right. And when you add, you really multiply. 5 times 12 is 60. Then you have a minus sign. Minus means divide. 60 divided by 3.75 is 16. Then do the finger thing. 4 to some power 16. 4 squared. Don't forget, it says this, simplify if possible. There's a good chance tomorrow you may do one of these, and you can't simplify it at the end, so you just leave the log in there, and that's okay. Tuesday we did this. We did equations. Got to get the x by itself, so divide both sides by 6. You get there. To get the exponent, you got to do log both sides. Because there's an e, you do natural log of both sides. The exponent goes in the front. The L and E are gone because it's just 1. Punch in your calculator, natural log 16, you get this. Divide it by 0.1, and there's your answer. It's 5 the exact same way. Do log both sides, which means you put the exponent in the front. Divide both sides by log 7, and you would get this. Subtract 2. Divide by 6, there's your answer. Number 6, same deal. Divide by 625, you get this decimal. Because there's an e, I'm going to do natural log of both sides. The exponent goes in the front. Natural log e is gone. Divide both sides by 0.02, and you get that answer right there. And number 7, the last one of those, do log both sides. The exponent goes in the front. Divide both sides by log 5. To get rid of the fraction, remember, multiply by the denominator. Multiply both sides by 4, and there's your answer. 8 and 9, coterminal means the angle looks the same, but the measure is different. So if they give you degrees, to get back to the same terminal side, the same end point of your angle, just add 360, subtract 360, and you get those two numbers. If they give you radians like this, instead of doing 360, because 360 is degrees, you do 2 pi. 2 pi is the same thing as 360 degrees, so add 2 pi, subtract 2 pi. Number 10, to go from degrees to radians, divide by 180 and put a pi with your answer. And backwards, when you go to 11 and you're going 2 degrees, remember 180 degrees is pi, so you put a 180 in for where the pi is, do your work, you get 315. 12 through 15, you just got to know those. Not much I can do for you there. Change it to radians first. You're supposed to know cosine pi over 3 is a half, so you're done. Change it to radians first. Drop the top, do your reference angle. Sine of pi over 3 is square root of 3 over 2. It's positive because 2 pi over 3 is in quadrant 2. Cosine, it's a pi, drop the top, it's just pi over 3, so put a 1/2. 4/3 is in quadrant 3, so it's negative a half. Tangent, it's a pi over 6, drop the top, it's square root of 3 over 3 because it takes 2 3's to make 6. And 5, 6 puts us in quadrant 2. Tangent's negative in quadrant 2. 16 and 17, you punch them in your calculator. Just make sure you're in the right mode. Make sure you're in degree mode for 16, radian mode for 17. Scatter plot, I did not bring my calculator home with me, but we did that one in class today. Remember, clear your list first. Put this row in L1, this row in L2. Go to your stat plot. Turn your scatter plot on. Hit zoom 9. Copy your graph down. Go back to stat. Number 4 says linreg. It tells you how to write your equation right there, so put that equation in. Then number 20 says predict at 45 miles per hour. Just take the 45, put it in for x, and work it out. 21, y'all are graded inverses. Switch the x and the y like I did here. Move everything over but the y. Move the 3 over, divide by 5. You get this answer right down here. Don't forget your little notation, your little f -1, which means inverse. 22 is an absolute value graph. Don't forget absolute value always makes a V. There's a -2 inside that shifts it 2 to the right, so I'm going to start my V right 2. There's a vertical stretch of 2 in front, so you go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, draw your V. 23 is a less than, so it's an and problem. The problem with this one is I move the 2 over, I got -1. Absolute value cannot be negative. It sure can't be less than a negative number. So there was no solution. I don't think that's going to happen tomorrow. So if you did set that up, you would set up like this. You would say x minus 4 is less than negative 1 and greater than 1. That's how you would set that up. That right there makes no sense because the number cannot be less than negative 1 and bigger than 1. There's no such thing. So you might catch it there. But I think tomorrow you have to work it out, and that's how you set it up. 24 is greater than. It's an or. Don't forget, don't ever distribute the 4. Divide both sides by 4 first, then set up your or with a greater than 6 and an or less than negative 6, and just move the 5 over and get your two answers. 25 and 26 are both parabolas, and a lot of parabolas. Graph what they give you. They give you negative 4, 0. That's your focus. Directrix is x equals 4. It's got to go through the x-axis. Remember, the vertex is halfway between the two, so the vertex is 0, 0. So what I did over here, I didn't put any parentheses because I had 0, 0. Remember, 4p goes the way the parabola goes. 4p, well, the parabola is going sideways, it's going left, so it goes with the x because the x-axis goes left and right. And your p is just how far it is from here, from your vertex to your focus, which is 4. So 4 times 4 is 16. I put negative 16 because it's going left. 26, exactly the same thing. Negative 1, that's your focus. Your directrix goes through x is 5 right there. Your vertex is halfway between the two. So I always do this. I always write down what the vertex is. That just helps me a little bit. The vertex is 2, negative 1. So I put the minus 2 with the x, the plus 1 with the y. Remember, opposite goes inside. And because it's going left like this, the 4p goes with the x, which means the square goes with the y. Just count your p. That sounds weird. P is, it's 3 to there, it's 3 to there. So p is 3. 4 times 3 is 12. It's negative 12 because it goes left. 27 is what we did last week. There's an interest problem. It says it's compounded daily, which means my n is 365. 25,000 is how much you end up with. 9,000 is how much you start with. 1 plus that, and you got 365t. So divide both sides by 9,000. Gives you this. If you work out the parentheses, that's where this number came from. I actually punched in the parentheses in my calc and got 1.001 to 365t power. Because I need the exponent, you do log both sides like we did earlier. So I'm dividing both sides by log 1.001. That gave me this big number here, but that equals 365t. So I divided by 365 to get my final answer. 28, I kind of goofed up that graph. I got points everywhere. Let me just talk you through that. First of all, it says tell the transformations. Make sure you do that and go straight through. Negative means it reflects across the x. 2, vertical stretch by 2. Left 1, down 2. Get that part right for sure. Domain's not bad. Because it's been shifted left 1, the asymptote goes from the y-axis back 1. So the asymptote's been shifted back 1, which makes your domain and range pretty easy. The 2 points, remember we always go 1 over from here. The problem is it has a minus 2 at the end, so that point 1 over got shifted down 2. That's my first point, 0, negative 2. The way you get your other point, remember, is you want that parentheses to be the same as the base. So I'm going to plug in a 1 right there, which means my x coordinate is 1. And if I do that, that gives me log 2, 2, which is really 1. So if you do 1 times negative 2, that is negative 2. Minus 2 is negative 4. So if you go 1, negative 4, there's your other point. Connect the dots, la, 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 and you got your graph. Last two, 29 and 30, both the same kind of problem. They're geometric series. Your formula, which I'll put on the board for you tomorrow, is this right here. S equals the first term, 1 minus r to the n power, like that, over 1 minus r. The problem with these two problems is, that sounds weird too, is that you don't know what n is. It doesn't tell you how many numbers there are. So I'll put what I knew. I knew the first term is negative 3. 1 minus, I knew r. Remember, to find r, you put the second over the first. That's negative 3. I did not know the 11 yet. And on the bottom, I have 1 minus r. I had to do this down here. I'm going to make it a little bigger for you to figure out what r was. So you take the last term, which is this, the first term, which is this, r, n minus 1. Divide by the 3. They gave me this. So what I did is I took my calc, and it's like 3 to the 5th. You know, I kept on going, 3 to the 6th, 3 to the 7th, until I found it. And it actually was like 3 to the 10th power is that. And for me to have a 10 right there, n has to be 11. So I took the 11 and plugged it right there, punched the whole thing in my calc. Be careful when you do that. Make sure you use tons of parentheses and get that big number. One more. This is the exact same kind of problem, though. I knew what the first term was, so I put it here. 1 minus r, I put, second over first, it gave me 1/3. I knew everything. I did not know the 7. To get the 7, I had to come down here and do this formula. AN means last term. A1 means first term, R is there, n minus 1. I divided by 12, hit math frac, change it to that. So I'm really trying to think how many times 3 goes into 729. 3 to what power? End up being the 6th power. And for that to be a 6, n has to be 7. So take the 7 and plug it right there. Be very careful punching that in. You might want to practice just punch that in tonight to make sure you got it. And that's the number you should get. And always hit math frac, change it back to a fraction. All right, hopes that helps a little bit. I think you should do pretty good tomorrow. It's not a bad test at all. And hopefully things do great. Watch the video as much as you need to. I'll let you skip. See you tomorrow.